I would say that I feel like racism is rampant within our community, and I think that we don't even understand how racism affects us as black gay men sometimes. When HIV was a white gay thing, when they were the face of HIV, it was all over the news. They were screaming HIV from the mountaintops. But now that it's not cachet, HIV is so 1980s, it's not something that they want to talk about anymore. They could care less that black gay men are dying or contracting HIV. What they want to talk about is marriage equality because they have the privilege to worry about that. They don't care about black gay men. And that's just how I feel about the situation. I've been in social settings where there have been other black gay men that have been perfectly fine with saying, I like white men, I like Asian men, I don't date other black men, let's be clear. Or, you're attractive, I'm not typically into dark skin. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. I feel like this is something that very rarely occurs in a safe space with a critical lens. So I really just want to dive right down into it. Out of everybody here, who's willing to date outside of their race, who's not? And we'll get into the why a little bit later, but you can go.
Put me on blast. I will date other people of color, specifically Native American and Latino. I am not inclined, however, to date white individuals. Although I did date one in the past, but he was half Puerto Rican. I think we, as a people, have been conditioned to think that black is not beautiful. And so for black individuals who date exclusively white, I honestly think that at the root of that is not feeling like black in all its shades are beautiful enough.
Definitely, I love black men. In my mind, my husband will be black and we'll have beautiful black babies. I have gone outside and dated men of color, Latinos. What about you, Noel?
Well, I guess I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I guess a full spectrum. I have dated white men. I have lived in predominantly black areas, predominantly white areas. I've dated Latino men. I guess I'm an equal opportunity dater, if you will. But for me, the connection and the values are more important, and that can happen irrespective of skin color.
Oh, why you gotta jump to me first? I do not date white men, so on that, but in terms of much like Blake, I will date other men of color. With white men, it's just something that I have a lot of hang-ups about. I did recently have my first sexual swirl experience, but I could not envision myself bringing him home to daddy. My father was 53 when I was born, and so with him being of a different generation to completely deal with race, I remember my dad telling me the only good peckerwood was a dead peckerwood, and that formulated my trust with white people, where it was like, oh, I'm always going to keep my eye on you.
And Miss Interviewee, since you want to ask all these questions.
Well, I have dated outside of my race. I've dated a little bit of most. I won't say everything. When I dated someone who was white successfully, I learned that the person does not equate to experience. Mm-hmm. Like the connection was the most important between he and I. A lot of the black dating situations that I've been in just had this unspoken expectation because I was primarily the top. I ended up having to be the man, and I had to buy all the stuff and open the doors and be the chivalrous one. And the other person was expected to be the bottom or the woman. Right. And with the white guy, regardless of our sexual roles, he just accepted me as me. I think black men, in my experience, have had we subscribe to these very heteronormative concepts of dating. The white guy, however, he just liked me. I could be as flippant or as queeny or cunty or as masculine as I wanted to be or as I felt comfortable being, and he was able to take me in stride and in step. And that was life-changing for me in the sense that it impacted all the subsequent relations I had.
So we've talked about kind of where everybody is across the spectrum, but I'd be very interested to hear in the why. So,
that's easy. My father told me growing up, like, you can fuck as many white girls as you want to, just don't bring one of them home.
Girls.
How many girls did you have?
I've had a number of females in my lifetime. None of them came home. But I think there was this desire for him and my immediate family to keep blackness and black families together and tight. As I think about what I want my family to look like and my life to look like, and even what I want other people to see, I guess, is that black love is valid and beautiful, and that men of color can love each other and not sort of always be just sexual objects and beings.
But why is it that, because what I hear you saying is that when I get into a relationship with someone who's not black, my black is affected.
It's not that that's affected, it's that I don't want to have to ever be in a space to compromise my blackness. And so to alleviate that, I just don't I would rather not date you.
And to touch on what he's kind of saying, I understand. So in my household, it was a proliferation of the black family unit. Because let's be clear, we haven't always been able to be like black love, black love. At some point, we were being ripped away from each other and not able to establish families. So in my home, having two educated, brilliant black people come together and love each other and have a familial unit, that was very powerful for me. And that's always in my purview and my frame of what love is two black people together. So that's why I always hold that up. And I will always hold that up high, because that is what I strive to achieve, and that's what I want in my life. And you know, it's just very affirming to me to see two black men walking hand in hand. I mean, it's just fucking amazing.
So do you think it would be as important to you if you saw other images of black love represented in the media, represented in society?
I want to say maybe, because I feel like a lot of times the reason why I feel like I push against dating white guys specifically is because that's all we ever see. If you see a black gay man in the media, it has to be with another white man.
Right.
And that's not okay to me. So I feel like I have to push back against that and be like, black love, black love, black love.
But why is it that we concoct this story about if I see a black gay man in the media, then it has to be with a white guy?
That's
Why?
not a story. That's
story.
real. That's
But
very real.
but why is it that why couldn't it really have just been simple as this man got with that man and one of them happened to be of this color and one of them happened to be of another? It's as if we create this dialogue that says that black people get with white people in order to get big.
I hear you, but I've been at the table creating that story. And so in being at the table creating that story and being they and them, it is very orchestrated, and it's orchestrated for a reason. When I look at James Baldwin, when I look at Bayard Rustin, they all had white men on their arms, and it overwhelmingly seems to be the price of the ticket. And going back to it, like Justin, that's amazing, and it's beautiful that he got to see two black people in one household that were together and affirming and were loving. I didn't necessarily have those examples in terms of looking at my heteronormative counterparts. I didn't see healthy examples of black love. So it's very important for me that even if I didn't see that, to be the one that creates that.
And let's be clear, I don't believe in coincidences. As segregated as DC is when it comes to the LGBT scene, where you have the white gays over here doing something completely different and you have the black gays over here doing something completely different, I don't believe in coincidences. And we do live in a white supremacist society, and that has an effect on black people, at least on a subconscious level.
So what are the takeaways today? Like, if we wanted somebody else to take something away from this today, like what would that be in terms of race? I know for me, it's like, I want you to be able to, one, question and think critically, and then stand up and speak for your identity. So whatever that identity is, it's not going to be a certain type of black, not even going to be a certain type of white, but for you to feel comfortable enough to say, this is who I am, and feel strong enough to tell the world that this is who you are.
I think my takeaway is related to that. You know, I think there is a danger in a single story. So I do hear what you're saying in terms of making sure there's a diverse representation of love, whether it be, you know, black people in love with black people in love with other people of color, or black people in love with white people. My takeaway, I guess, what I'm, want people to remember is that black is not monolithic. There's not one right way or wrong way to be black. As someone who is just now coming into the Latino part of his identity because I was told to erase it from my existence for so long, I think it's very important that we let people who are black enjoy the fullness of who they are, rather than sort of focus on that single part of their identity.
Right. I'm going to say that, and this is paraphrasing, but black men loving other black men is a revolutionary act. And that black love is affirming, and that is absolutely beautiful. And that's just how I feel.
I mean, I guess for me, it's on your shit. So whether you date, black men exclusively or you date white men exclusively, own it and be okay naming that, and be okay engaging, as you said, in a critical conversation about why you make those choices and where they come from, and be honest about it.
Regardless of what your story is, it's okay for that story not to sound like anybody else's. We are not this unithought. We can be different and diverse and have attractions to him or her or them, regardless of color or ethnicity, and that in itself should also be affirmed. And that's just my take on it.
And on that note, to differences.
To differences.
Yes.